Matthew here from MiniWargaming.com, and it's time for another Sit and Talk. This is the Ask Me Anything show where you ask me anything about wargaming or business. Might even get personal, politics, or religion. So if you're easily offended by personal subjects like politics or religion, then please don't watch this show. If you want your comment or question answered in next week's show, leave it in the comment section below if you are watching this on Mini Wargaming. If you're watching on YouTube, click the link in the video section below or in the comments description, the video description below, and leave your comment on our site. It's just easier for me to print off. And while you're there, thumb up any questions that you want me to answer, because I typically answer the top 10 questions that have been thumbed up, and then I just take random ones after that. And we have two parts to this. The first 45 minutes is for free, and then I do another bonus 30 minutes of only answering Vault members' questions, which is of course available in the Mini Wargaming Vault. Also going to be a link in the video description to that one. If you're not a Vault member, you can still click it and get a free 7-day trial. It helps support us. It allows you to get access to thousands of other battle reports and painting tutorials and behind the scenes and everything else here at Mini Wargaming. So let's jump right into this. Super hot fire. Just wondering how your kids address Dave. Uncle Dave? Mr. Dave? Master of Chaos? What is it? How do his kids address you? Thanks, long live Lenin. We haven't really fully established that yet. Although I have a funny feeling it's going to be Uncle Dave, just because his kids have been starting to address us as uncle and aunt. And I grew up, I remember growing up, and there was a family that was really close to our family, and we called their mom and dad uncle and aunt. And that's what we had to do. So it wasn't Mr. and Mrs., it was uncle and aunt, because just how close we were to their family. So it kind of seems to be I don't know if it's a cultural thing here, or if it's just something that I was raised with, and so I'm used to that. But most likely it'll be Uncle Dave and Auntie Farah or Aunt Farah once our kids are actually calling them regular stuff. And I think they already are doing that. I think Holly has been encouraging that. So most likely that'll be it. So not Master of Chaos. The Name Butcherer. Hey Matt, I need your help. I like this girl in my class, but I don't know how to approach her or ask her out. Oh, you're asking for advice on girls. Well, you came to the right person, because I've clearly mastered that. Yeah, I know girls like chocolate, but there are so many types and brands that I get a headache thinking about it. You seem like a guy who has always been smooth with the females. What should I do? I laugh because it's so true. So, you want to be smooth with the females, right? Well, chocolate is a good part of that, unless they're one of those rare girls that don't like chocolate or who are lactose intolerant and so would get sick by eating chocolate, in which case you don't want to give them chocolates. Chocolate, flowers, writing them poems or sonnets or songs, playing guitar, all these things are the typical things, and I was never good at any of them. I play a little bit of guitar, just very little though, more a piano guy myself. So what should you do? Well, you like this girl in your class, but I don't know how to approach her or ask her out. Well, you approach her and say, you know, what's up, babe? Let's go catch a flick. Let's go watch some, like, well, it depends what she's into. Because it could be like, let's go watch Twilight. Or it could be like, let's go and watch the latest Avengers movie. And depending on what she's like, one of those will win you over. If you don't know what she's like, just roll a die, because that's what we do. And pick that one, and that's what you should do it. And that is wonderful advice that I'm sure will work really well. P.S. Will you say something in Tahitian? Thanks, love you, babe. Oh, you're calling me babe. All right. Will I say something in Tahitian? Well, it's been a long time, but I'll do some basics. Hello is Yorana. So Yorana. When you want to say how are you doing, it's Ehato ehuru. Ehato ehuru. If you want to shorten that, you can Ehaturu. Ehato ehuru. Ehaturu. And then you respond by saying, "Emea maita." And yes, you have to say it with this guttural manly voice because it's a Polynesian language, so it's meant to be shouted. It meant to sound like it's got a haka every time you say it. "Eato ihuru, emea maita roa." Maururu. That's thank you. Maururu roa. That's thank you very much. A Matthew to'u i'oa. So a Matthew, no, obviously I'm saying my name, a name. To'u i'oa, that's how you say my name is whatever. It's directly translated would be Matthew, my name, but that's how the sentences work. Like the mea maitai, that was, it's directly translated to be a good thing, but Tahitian language is much simpler than many other languages. I think a lot of Polynesian languages are like that because they're developed in a very, obviously, away from huge populations and everything like that. I think the number of words in the Tahitian language is somewhere around 20,000. And to give you some perspective, English, I believe, has over 900,000. Now, English is a little bloated because I think the next biggest language is just, I think Spanish has 300,000 or 400,000. And so English is bloated because it's borrowed so many words from different languages. Whereas Tahitian, you can actually, they've borrowed, now that they've been, since the past couple hundred years, have had exposure to all the other cultures. A lot of their words have actually come from other cultures as well. That's part of the 20,000. For example, pineapple in Tahitian is pineapple. Pineapple. Book is puta, which doesn't sound anything like book, and so you see how it's spelt, and it's spelled B-U-K-A, but there are no B's in Tahitian. B's are P's. K's don't exist as well, so they're T's. So the buka, which would be how you would say it in Hawaiian, is puta, is how you say it in Tahitian. So they're lacking a lot of the letters of the alphabet too. They don't have B's, C's, D's, G's, J's, K's, L's. They actually don't have L's. You see all these letters in their written language, but you pronounce them as something else. S's, they don't actually have S's. It's really strange when you think about it. So it just sounds so different when you're saying this way. There you go. That was, how are you? I am good. Thank you very much. All right, so there's some Tahitian for you. I don't remember much else, I'll be honest. I might be able to remember certain words. Forming sentences, super easy. Their grammar structure is like ridiculously easy compared to other languages, so I could remember that just simply because it's so easy to do. Rachmaninoff. I know the subject is tired by now, but I want to give the other side of the coin. As a Necron player, I feel like the hate we are getting is pretty unfair. While I know that the Codex is super powerful, we didn't ask for the updates that we got. The fact that Necron players are now being put down or even discriminated against for playing Necrons is crazy. In the end, Necron players spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on models and should not be hated on because a third party improved their army's rules. I'm sure other players would start to feel bad or inadequate if their army became super powerful and people started hating on them. Everyone should feel safe in this environment because in the end, it's about fun. Thanks. I agree. Necrons, remember though that Necrons weren't first to receive this kind of hate. Grey Knights have received it in the past. Imperial Guard have received it in the past. Tau have received it in the past. Eldar are now receiving it, obviously, and have received it in the past. Dark Eldar have received it in the past. There's been a lot of armies that have received powerful updates, and for a time, people don't like playing against that army. And it makes sense because I believe that you can play against Necrons and have good games. In fact, you're going to see some games filmed in Warzone Apothis where they're really good games. And that's where the Necron player is willing to really lower the strength of his list to have a good game. But not everybody's willing to do that, and so you might get lumped in. Like I remember the first time I started playing Tau on video, it's interesting the shift in the kind of feel of the comments. People have been generally, well, when I play, they're generally supportive and I'm a friendly player and, competitive and all this kind of stuff, but at the same time, not that guy. As soon as I started playing Tau, all of a sudden I started getting more of the labels of being a win-at-all-cost player and a that guy kind of player. And I didn't change anything about my personality as I filmed. I just changed which army I was playing. So there was this instant kind of association that since I was playing Tau, I must be that kind of player. And so you are going to have to deal with that until it passes, and it will pass relatively quickly. Because Eldar have come out, Imperial Knights have come out, the new Deftus Mechanicus stuff will be coming out, the Space Marines will be coming out, all in the next few months, and so then there will be new armies for people to hate, and that's just the way it goes. But it's hard because, unlike computer games, we can't just quickly switch armies because there's a lot of money and time associated with this hobby. So it does suck, but it is the way it's gone. But I do agree with you that we should just be able to whoever gets the new improved codex after playing a couple of games should scale back how strong their army is and just have fun with it. And those playing against it should be a little more forgiving. The Mobius. Hi Matt, should I quit smoking and spend all the money I save on a massive savage orc army to destroy the new Warhammer world? Well, there's two parts to your question. Definitely a yes to the first one. The second one, I'd say is a definite yes as well. Not quite as definite as quitting smoking, but pretty far up. Priorities in life: quitting smoking, buying a huge, massive, savage orc army for Warhammer Fantasy. Those are pretty close together. But yeah, I definitely say yes to the first part at least. Zaku Kai. Matt, in the assault phase, sometimes you have all your models in the unit throw grenades. Oh, you don't throw grenades in the assault phase. But the rules on page 180 says, only one grenade of any type can be thrown by a unit per phase. Doesn't that mean only one guy in the unit can throw the grenade in that assault phase? It makes sense that only one model can throw it. Not necessarily, because Tau Fire Warriors with EMP grenades are ridiculous otherwise. We play where only one model can throw in the assault. Please tell me where it says otherwise. Thanks, Zaku. That's a bit of a contested debate for rules, but the general consensus is that in the shooting phase, you can only throw one. People have talked about the word throw, that you don't throw in the assault phase, you use them in the assault phase. And I don't necessarily think it's that because it uses the word throw. I think it's because it's meant to be a restriction in the shooting phase. Because if you go back and you can see that, if you read the rules for it in the assault phase for haywire grenades, the wording does imply that everybody could use it. Also, if you look at it, you're paying for the points upgrade for everybody to have it. Like Tau Fire Warriors are one example. They all pay a point to take an EMP grenade. Now, I realize when you're going up against an Imperial Knight and all of a sudden he's taking all sorts of haywire, it might not seem like a point is that big a deal, and you're right. But they are Tau Fire Warriors after all, and most likely they're not going to be able to use those haywire grenades. But I disagree with you. The rule is debated though, so we both could go back and forth arguing rules as written, rules as intended, all that kind of stuff. And I think even rules as written has an argument for being able to everybody use the grenade. It's just that one grenade of any type can be thrown by a unit per phase. See, if you look at that wording, is it saying that you can only have one type of grenade or only one grenade? So if you have crack grenades and frag grenades, are you saying that the unit can all throw frag or all throw crack, but only one type? Because when you actually look at the frag or the assault grenade and crack grenade rules, it says one model can throw it or can use it as a shooting attack as instead of their regular weapon. So why would they have to specify that one uses it if that's what they meant by that initial one? So that's kind of the argument, that what they're trying to say is a unit can only use one type of grenade per phase, not that only one guy can use it per phase. And then the assault grenades and crack grenades and plasma grenades specify in the shooting phase only one model can throw it. And then for crack grenades and melt-a-bombs and haywire grenades, it doesn't make that limitation. It just says that it can be used instead of all their close combat attacks. So the general consensus is in the shooting phase, only one grenade of any type thrown by one model can be used. And in the assault phase, one grenade of a type can be used, and everybody can use it if everybody's equipped with it. So if you had a unit equipped with haywire grenades and the sergeant has a melt-a-bomb, you wouldn't be able to have him use the melt-a-bomb and have them all use the EMP grenades or haywire grenades. Mr. Pinky Piggy, can you sell mini wargaming dice? Yeah, maybe. If there's really a lot of people requesting that. I wouldn't sell them for much. It's just more just for fun. We just got them in and we've been using them to give away to volunteers. We've been trying to have gifts for volunteers who come in just to thank them for their time. We also have measuring tapes, but I'm not really happy with them, so we're probably going to get new ones made because these ones they're a little flimsy. Cerbatron, when all the wars are over and the Necrons have won, will the Necron warriors become Necron Accountants? I don't know. What kind of economy would the Necrons have if they did win? It depends. First off, it might be one of those hypothetical questions that we don't have to answer, because I don't think you could ever have an end to wars, because any empire that rises up big enough to take over the majority of whatever is considered their world always ends up turning on itself, because in the end, what's the point of the conquest? If they win, they just don't have any more conquest, and so they always end up turning on themselves. There's been countless examples of this in history, where one empire wins, or takes over a large portion of the known world, and they kind of reach a critical point where then they kind of fracture and become multiple factions fighting amongst themselves again, until one of those wins and fracture and become multiple factions. And so I don't think you'd ever see a total conquest of any faction, because there's always more. There's always more to do. So if the Necrons are not one united faction, remember, there's a lot of different factions within the Necron factions. And so if the Necrons were to conquer the galaxy, meaning that all other races were extinguished, all destroyed, then you still wouldn't have the Necrons united, so they'd have a war amongst themselves. And then even if one managed to take over the entire galaxy, he wouldn't be able to, it's just too much to maintain. And so then there'd be fractures and rebellions and all that kind of stuff that kind of continue that. So would they all become Necron Accountants? Yeah, it all also depends on their economy too, right? Like, do they have an economy per se? Because they are Necrons, and so it's kind of like they're just ruled over each other and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's more like plague bearers are the accountants of the galaxy, because they're the ones that are constantly cataloging the new diseases by Nurgle, right? So they're the most like accountants. And then of course the Imperium has like an innumerable bureaucracy of people who just tabulate things. And so Necrons, not so much, I don't think. Wilso Jr. Hi Matt, I'm sorry to hear you do not have a beard. Have you considered investing in a prosthetic one? If you could have any type of beard, what would you have? And who is your favorite bearded celebrity? Thanks, Vault member. Have I considered investing in a prosthetic one? No. If I could have any type of beard, what would you have? Just a goatee would be fine. Who is your favorite bearded celebrity? Well, Sean Connery is the first that pops into my mind right away, because Sean Connery is awesome. He's Sean Connery, and he's got that awesome beard. Yeah, Sean Connery. That's the answer to that question. Ace Neo. Hey Matt, in light of all these supplements and codices coming out, which supplement or codex would you like to see come out next, and what would you add? Ooh, I would like to, supplement-wise, I'm looking forward to the Gene Stealer Cult. There have been rumors about that one, and I really look forward to the Gene Stealer Cult supplement. Not only to add more stuff for the Tyranids to do, but because it's a different army, really. The Gene Stealer Cult is a different army from the Tyranids, and it would be really neat to see what they did with that. And it opens up so many more options for the Tyranids to ally with other armies, whereas right now they can't, because the main Tyranids just can't do that. And I'd also be more interested in the lore that they kind of reveal, and more things I could use in narrative campaigns. For other codexes and supplements, I'd really like to see the Imperial Guard get an update. I know it wasn't too long ago that got the Astra Militarum, but they're kind of bland. And I'd love to see them get a Decurion type detachment, because they're already built that way a lot when you really look at it. Their troop choice is, a platoon, which is a platoon command squad, and then two squads, which could be put into one. And those ones could be upgraded to have the heavy weapons teams, and then you can tack on specialist teams and all that kind of stuff. So that's a formation. That's not a troop choice. That's a whole formation, because they're all their own units, and then they can all get their upgraded, and they can all get chimeras or other dedicated transports. And so it would make sense if they redid that, because it feels that they've always, and that's the Imperial Guard have always been that way, kind of complicated. But with the new formations, they could really make more sense and give command bonuses to having platoons work together in certain ways. I think it would be really interesting. So I'd like to see the Imperial Guard get an update and a Gene Stealer Cult supplement. I think I would like a Tau supplement with other species in the Tau Empire, like Vespid, Kroot, Nississar, Demiurge. Yes, I don't think those are likely, because they'll require a lot of new models. And Games Workshop is not releasing a lot of new models per army, with the exception of the Adeptus Mechanicus, because it's a totally new army. Like even the Imperial Knights, they got a new book and 3 new knights, but really it's the same body. They just sculpted some new heads and new weapons and stuff. So that's minimal production cost for them to create more Imperial Knights. Whereas if you're talking about an entire new army, Gene Stealer Cult, see, they could get away with using a lot of the sculpts that they already have. They even have a couple different Broodlord variants now. Just the regular Broodlord, and the one that came in that one box set. And then they just can, they have the Gene Stealers already. Maybe they could create a different kind of sprue for Gene Stealers, or maybe they just have a couple fine cast sprues, like something for the Magos, and maybe like a plastic kit where you can kind of create the cultists, the Gene Stealer cultists, and so they're not Gene Stealers, they're like the mutated humans or whatever. And then those bits could be used to convert Tau to it, or orcs to it, or whatever else you want to do. So it wouldn't take a lot, is all I'm saying. It would take like a box of cultists, and maybe a Magos, or whatever you call those guys, Magos or Magos, and maybe an update to the Gene Stealer sprue. I don't know if they need it though. I know that's an older sprue, but they're kind of iconic now, the way they look. I was also talking to my local gaming group, including Mike Grove, and we agreed that a Grot Codex would also be cool, including stuff like Grot tanks, and make some new units like Grot harvesters to make more Grots, like Necron Ghost Arcs, or Grotapults that work like Biovores. Anyway, thanks for all you guys do. You're the reason I play 40k. Vault member until Dave likes Tau. Yeah, the Grot Codex would be cool too. Yeah, why not, right? If they're going to do all these supplements, then why not do that? Hi, Fleet Ryback. Can drop pods mishap? They sure can, if they scatter off the table. Hi Matt, I'd love your opinion on this. The rules for drop pods used to be very clear. Reduce the distance of the scatter so the drop pod is 1 inch from the enemy. Now the rule has changed to reduce the scatter to avoid the obstacle. The 1 inch rule has been removed. Therefore, if a pod now lands on an enemy unit, it reduces but lands within 1 inch. Therefore, the pod mishaps. You'll notice that this isn't a one-off. Tyranids stay the same, as do Trigons. Yeah, they definitely don't mishap. They just reduce to avoid whatever would cause them to mishap, except the table edge. If they scatter off the table edge, they can mishap. Negref. Matt, do you enjoy French cuisine? Or what do you eat most? I can't say I particularly enjoy French cuisine, not because I don't enjoy French cuisine, but because I don't really eat French cuisine. Which cuisine do I eat most? Well, being Canadian, mostly Canadian cuisine, and that's all sorts of stuff, I guess, but at the same time, I guess, what do I eat a lot of? Hamburgers, potatoes and meat and vegetables, lots of barbecue in the summer. So whether it's barbecue chicken or hamburgers or hot dogs or steak or that kind of stuff. Yeah, that kind of food. And then occasionally we'll get Chinese food from a restaurant, or, you know, from whatever happens that we'll get. Pizza, that kind of stuff. Nothing exciting. That's all I got to say. So, excuse me. All right, Southpaw 90. Hi, Mott. Hi, Mott. Hi, Mott. Thanks for answering my question on Demonkin last week. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Rumor has it that Chaos Space Marines are getting an update in the nearest future anyway. I have another. Do you think that Games Workshop are running out of ideas? Not for models, but for names? As of the Warhammer World Grand Reopenings reveal the new Titan, we now have a Warlord that is a Lord of War, but not a Warlord. A fun concept to try to explain to people new to the hobby. For several editions now, Chaos Marines have had access to Havocs, a spikier version of Loyalist Devastators, and Havoc launchers, vehicle weapon systems that sadly launch rockets instead of Traitor Marine heavy weapon teams. We have Obliterator cults with a Plasma Obliterator, Hellblades that are wielded by Bloodletters, and Hellblades that are air superiority attack craft, etc., etc. Should we, as the concerned fan base, we are sending them thesauruses? Oh, sorry. Should we, as the concerned fan base, be sending thesauruses to Games Workshop headquarters, or is there no hope? Well, Chaos has always been, especially the Khorne stuff, has always been pretty bad for that. You know, all the blood something or other. It was really hard to keep track of all of them. And then, yeah, there's only so many combinations of Hell something, Hellblade, Hell Drake, Bloodletter, just all the different ones there. Blood Crusher. You know, my brain just went blank there for a second. But yeah, are they running out of names? I think it's a typical thing that you see these names like Devastators and Decimators and Destroyers and these things you see across into other games as well, because they're just generic names that kind of give you a feel for the destructive nature of them. But yeah, it is funny how that works. Death Jester 30. Hey Matt, I'm loving the intro to Warzone Apothis. Awesome work to whoever made it. Chris made it, and I do agree. He did a great job. Also, when are we going to see another Matthew versus Dave Tyranids versus Chaos Bat Rep? Don't know. I personally think you guys should duke it out with your newer armies to see if Dave can win for once. Awesome work, guys. Your videos have kept me going in the hobby and have helped me learn 40K, as I am only fairly new. Started in 2012 to 40K. Yeah, we don't play very often just because we got so many people coming in and volunteering us that it makes sense to be filming 2 battle reports at the same time rather than just one. Natna. I think you confuse socialism and communism with liberalism. I don't feel like explaining the difference, though. If you want to become a more informed person, Google the difference. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You're one of those people at the beginning I said if you're offended by political discussions that don't watch. I'm not confused between the two. I do know the difference. It's just that commonly in Canada and the United States, when we're talking about liberal sides, we're typically talking about more socialist things. Now, I realize that they don't mean the same thing. It's just typically on the liberal side of the government, it's more about heavier spending, heavier taxes, and on the conservative side is lower spending, lower taxes, and the same holds for the states as well. So yes, I know liberalism and socialism are two different things. In fact, liberals could actually be on the same side as conservatives when it comes to the size of the government. They can be a kind of a capitalist liberal, and it has more to do than just more or less government. Liberals also, well, it's just the word liberal as opposed to conservative. They're more open to change, whereas conservative is less open to change. That's just the basic definition there. So yes, I do understand the differences. I apologize for putting them as opposites when I know that there actually could be the right wing and left wing liberals. So Thank you, Natna, for pointing that out. It was a mistake to say it, but I think the majority of people would understand what I'm talking about there, just because, at least, I'm not sure about other countries, but I know in the States and in Canada that typically that is the way people look at it. I'm not trying to say all liberals are socialists, and because like I said, that my whole point with the comment last week was that we have these extreme views, and very few people are in the super extreme. They might act like they are, but still want certain things. Like, I'd say I'm more conservative than liberal, more capitalist than socialist, but not fully, because I like the fact that we have our healthcare covered by the government. I think that university should be free and paid for with taxpayer money, those kind of things. But then there's a certain reach to what things I would disagree with as well. And then, of course, for the conservative versus liberal views on things, other things that are not so much how much government there are, but laws and all that. Obviously, I'm more on the conservative side than the liberal side in that area. So I'm more conservative when it comes to the should there be more, like socialism versus capitalism? That I'm kind of in between. But when it comes to conservative and liberal, I'm definitely more conservative to those values. Sir William the Bold. Hey, Matt, how many people are currently in the vault? I'm not going to reveal that, just because it's private business information. And roughly how many vault members are there per Mini Wargaming staff? Also can't reveal that. Do you have a favorite vault member? From comments and sit and talk questions. That's an interesting one. The answer is no, quite simply, and not just one of those, you're all my favorite, like what a parent would say to their kids, because that's not true. Obviously, I'm going to like some of you more than I will like others. That's just a fact of life. But I can't think of, there's probably, there's a lot of names that I'm becoming familiar with from the sit and talks, and that's kind of fun. That's interesting, especially when some of them actually come in, or come in for battle reports or whatever, and I get to meet them that way. But no, I don't have a favorite one, and I don't think it would be a good idea for me to try to list off the ones I like and the ones I don't like. Love all the work you guys do. Godspeed, Sir William. Mr. Pinky Piggy. Matt, I'm about to ask you the most important thing that has ever been asked on Sit and Talk. Is Mormon magic underwear a real thing? No. There is such a thing as called Mormon garments, which I'm not going to go into here, but it is not magic underwear. That's funny, though. Hot Cocoa. Hi, Matt. Games Workshop has often been criticized for various business decisions, such as increasing prices. However, their stock prices have been pretty steadily dropping since September 2013. Do you think Games Workshop will eventually respond to this, or do you think they will continue with shady business practices, losing all their fans to games like War Machine in the process? Now, let me clarify two things. One, I don't disagree with their policy of increasing prices, nor do I think that they do shady business practices. There's a lot of other business policies that I disagree with, like their competition with independent retailers and how much it makes it harder for an independent retailer to work for them because of all their exclusive stuff that is direct only and web store exclusive. I also don't agree with them not allowing people to sell online while they then perpetuate selling online. In fact, Forge World and Black Library, they depend on a lot of online sales. I don't agree with their lack of use of social media. They've started using YouTube in the past year, I'd say, and I'm happy to see that, but still disabling comments, not really following all that kind of stuff, disable their main Facebook page. They just don't have a good PR presence. Obviously, they're very good at running stores, even if you disagree with them switching to one-man stores. The retail side of things is what got them to where they are, and so you can't really talk against that. But their stock prices, yeah, they've been steadily dropping. Now, September 2013, that's what, not even 2 years ago, so it's hardly a trend. And I do think, though, that they are losing market share, and they will continue to lose market share because they can no longer maintain that monopoly forever. They're still the top miniature manufacturer, at least on the non-historical side in the world, and they're still making lots of money from that. And it'll be a while before anybody can really match their production quality and output, but I do think it'll eventually happen. I would give them 10 to 15 years before there's another super major competitor. And I don't just mean a collection of smaller ones that kind of add up to be competition, but I mean somebody else who has their own factory producing plastic miniatures at a large quantity and really high quality, kind of like what they do. I'd give them another decade before that happens. I think that the reign of them having the monopoly in this market is already starting to shift away, But because they have monopoly, it takes a long time for that to actually happen. So they can ride off of that for a very long time, but eventually they're going to have to switch their strategies and enter the 21st century when it comes to their marketing practices. But the thing that's really maintaining them, though, is that they're producing fantastically awesome miniatures. And even though the rules are unbalanced, they are a heck of a lot of fun, and they are producing a lot of them. And as much as some people complain about that, ironically, because before people would complain about them not producing enough, and now they're producing too many, I like the fact that they're producing more than I can keep up with, because it gives so many ways to play the game, and that's what you want. Is it competitive like War Machine? Heck no, nowhere near. But it's way more fun than any other game, which is subjective, of course. But what I mean by that is that it gives you lots of variety, it has a way to put lots of miniatures on the table, and just play a fun game. Not always balanced, rarely balanced, but a lot of fun. But I don't think they do shady business practices. I just think they do bad business practices. There's a big difference between the two of those. Corn King, hi Matt. 1, I wonder where I can get non-apocalypse formations and data slates for Chaos Space Marines and Khorne Demonkin, and how. Well, Khorne Demonkin I don't think have any non-apocalypse formations or data slates yet, because they just came out. The Chaos Space Marines, there are quite a few. You'll have to buy them digitally, mostly though. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know there's at least a few. There's one for the Hellbrutes, for example. And there's one for the Black Legion. And yeah, but most of them are digital only. So you'd have to go, with an iPad into the iTunes store, or you can get a lot of them just as PDFs for any Android device, or even on your computer through Black Library or on the Games Workshop website. 2, how can I beat a Necron Doomsday Arc, and what can I do about the Nightbringer Catan? Those two things are like the least of your concerns for Necrons. A Doomsday Arc is just a heavy vehicle, so fire at it like you would any other heavy vehicle. Armor 13, it's not even like Armor 14 Land Raider. So strength 7 and up, strength 8 obviously more effectively, and you don't have to worry about it jinking, because it doesn't want to jink, because it's got a blast weapon, so if it jinks it doesn't get to use the main point of bringing the Doomsday Arc. And Nightbringer Catan also, while not it's the best of the Catan, I think, is still, the Gaze of Death is the one thing you have to be careful of, because he just chooses a unit in the shooting phase within 12 inches, even flying monstrous creatures. 3d6 minus their leadership, they take that many wounds, no armor or cover saves allowed. So it's like a Psychic Scream kind of thing. And it can hit flying monstrous creatures, because it's not a shooting attack that automatically hits. It's just something a power that's done in the shooting phase. So that's a big differentiation. Unless they FAQ it or errata it and make their intentions clear, that is how it works, just rules as written. But how do you take care of it? Quite easily. Bolter Fire will do it. As much as it's toughness 7, it only has a 4+ save and only 4 wounds. So on average, you only have to inflict 8 wounds on it. Even strength 4 can churn that out. Obviously, strength 6 or 7 would be more effective, but then you're usually getting less shots. So just volume of fire. And you can also, in Nightbringer Catan, the best way is just to charge in with a bunch of cheap units and get it tied up in close combat, because unlike the Deceiver, who has hit and run, he does not. And while the wording isn't clear, we play it that he can't use the Gaze of Death when locked in combat, because even though it's not a shooting attack, it says in the shooting phase, in addition to using its powers, it can also do this. And that, then we can make the implication, although rules as written doesn't completely give you this, that he can't use the powers, so in addition, you can't do that as well. So that's the way we play it, although I could totally see if somebody wanted to change that. Human Tolope. I get the whole one Canoptech Spider not saying anything specific about unit versus not unit, but your argument about not having a precedent is kind of moot, considering you literally have something in the same formation that is pretty clearly labeled as having 1 unit of X. Why would they need to change the wording within the very same formation? See, my thing is that somebody writing that, the minimum squad of spiders is 1, and so they could easily just write 1 spider in their mind, thinking, oh yeah, you can add 2 more. Now, I know that it might say in other places a unit of or a brood of Carnifexes, which is between 1 and 3. I'm agreeing that you can do 1 spider. I'm just saying that I don't agree that just the fact that Canoptech Spider is enough of an argument for that, because Games Workshop does not have tight rule systems like that, and so you just can't take it happening once. Now, somebody pointed out that there's one of the Eldar or Dark Eldar formations that has similar wording, and they say it seems pretty clear on the intent that it's just 1 and you can't add more. Otherwise it gets ridiculous, although that's never an argument. Who cares if something gets ridiculous? Like, we have entire codexes that are ridiculous. So saying that because it's ridiculous, that must not be what they intended, is like saying, well, just don't have them roll their destroyer weapons because that's too ridiculous. But, so I'm agreeing it's just one spider. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's too powerful to have 3, honestly. The Necrons are just powerful. So just talking about this one thing, you got to pay for the extra 2 spiders. And there are ways to deal with them. So they're already powerful. So saying it's too powerful, like they're already too powerful. That's just what it is. So yeah. Either way, I'll still watch. Just gets me a bit sad because taking 3 spiders and forever pumping out scarabs is a bit rough for the opposing player, which doesn't help the Cron hate. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to play 3 spiders. You won't even see me play Canotech Harvest very much. At least not within the Decurion. I might do it outside of the Decurion. Du Bois Rule. Are you still running your painting partner program? We are, although we've changed it. Last year, and I really liked it, how we produced it. Last year we worked with a lot of painters with a lot of small projects, and we've decided to work with less painters on larger projects. And it's just less bookkeeping that way, because we went through a lot of projects last year. For the most part, I was happy with it. Some of them I didn't like, and we don't work with those painters anymore. But it was just a lot of bookkeeping. And so now we're just more. And now that we have some people in-house who are painting for us too, and so that kind of helps lighten that load. But then if somebody wants to come and do some advertising for us, we get them to do a bigger project, like a Nurgle Tyranid army or a few Imperial Knights or something like that in exchange. So that way we have, there's also the amount of advertising we were doing for painting, or for painting commission studios. I don't mind doing that, but I didn't want to do as much as we were doing because I just don't think you guys want to see tons of sponsored videos. And the way we've been making money is the Mini Wargaming Vault, not advertisements. So although you get the YouTube ads, that's just the YouTube videos doing that. And I wouldn't want to disable it because, even though it's not a huge amount of money, it's still some money to help us run our business. I don't want to just turn into a business model where we're constantly selling advertising space. And that's essentially what we're doing with that. So yes, we're still running it, but only larger projects and only with really reputable painters. That doesn't mean that a startup wouldn't be able to be part of it. If they can show that they already have really good skills and are able to get a good turnaround time on larger projects, then yes, he would be able to apply to join. JKO, yo Matt, yo JKO, or JKO. I'm curious to know what you do with all the leftover bits you get from the massive amount of miniatures you guys get. Lots of potential there for all sorts of cool things like giveaways. Have a bits box for people that come over for reps, that for perhaps even selling. That's a great idea. Because we don't keep them, because trust me, we'd have entire rooms just full of them. And I don't want to sell them. Giveaways would be cumbersome, but giving them to people who come in as kind of a thank you, that's a great idea. I like that. I really like that. Let's start doing that. So any bits you don't want, let's just get a box and throw them in. And then when people come in for battle reports,
if they want bits,
they can look through it and they can take whatever they want.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do.
Yeah, rather than throwing them out. And if we get some that stick around for a long time, we can throw them out.
I'm a hoarder.
You're a hoarder.
Do you not see my...
Yeah, but I mean the ones that we own, obviously. Not your personal bits.
Oh,
you can do whatever you want with your personal
bit.
bit.
Hoarder.
So I think that's a great idea. All right. Egg Banjo, YouTuber Striking Scorpion 82's terrain setup is probably my favorite of any I've ever seen. Question is the following. Is this terrain style feasible for mini wargaming, specifically narrative campaigns? Can't answer that. I've watched some of those battle reports, but I can't think off the top of my head what you're referring to exactly. Like what is this, what kind of setup do you have? So post another comment, hope that it gets thumbed up or something, or that I get to it. And I'll look at that. Secondly, can I see some Mephrit Necrons? I don't mind watching Decurion detachment, no issue at all, so long as Challenger has a well-built army. But my personal army is Mephrit Necrons with a Catan and Tombstalker. Would love to see them actually in a fight instead of in a cupboard. Yeah, the Mephrit Necrons, that's just the formation and detachments from the other book, from the Leviathan book, I believe it is. And I think we have some of that. We've been playing more Combined Arms attachment. We've also just recently got a bunch of Forge World Necrons painted up, so we're going to kind of change it up with that. So Steve's just filmed a bunch of Necron battle reports, and I think you're going to like them. They've been pretty balanced. They've been a lot of fun, and it hasn't just been Necrons stomping the crap out of their opponent. Jaco, hi Matt. Hi again, Matt. I'd like to know your thoughts of other channels that are starting up a similar sort of service as Mini Wargaming. I'm assuming you're referring to ones that start up like a kind of a paid-only subscription service where they give videos to the paid members. There's also ones I've noticed that are starting to use Patreon. which is interesting as well. Recently, I know at least 2 channels that have started with high quality bat reps and talk shows. Do you see this as a threat or opportunity? A little competition is always good, I reckon. Well, it's interesting. For a business, competition is both a good and a bad thing. It is a good thing in the sense that any competition will grow the market. Of course, the bad thing is that competition will also take some of your share of the market away from you. But if they're really good at what they do, they should hopefully add to the market, and you're able to take away some of that from them. And so the net result is everybody makes more money. But it doesn't always work that way, because if that person comes in and they really are a lot better, then over time they'll take more from you than they contribute because people like them better. Do I see it as a threat? Honestly, the answer is no, because it'll take several years. In a sense, we kind of have a monopoly in the market for making videos and having the Vault membership, but I use that word very loosely because we're not this humongous company. We only have half a dozen employees. We're not making tons of money. It's like we have the most views in a small market. Like, we have 177,000 subscribers, I think it is. And when you compare that to the next biggest, which I think is in the 50,000s, it's huge. It's like, oh, look at that. It's like triple. But you compare it to YouTube in general, and 170,000 subscribers, while I guess somewhat respectable for anybody to be able to achieve, is by far not nearly the biggest that is out there. We got tons of YouTube channels now that have over 1 million subscribers, and some with tens of millions of subscribers. And so we're talking about a small market within a small market. So the small market is people who watch videos about wargaming within that small market of people who play wargaming. And so because we weren't the first to enter, but we're the first to kind of expand to this level, I'm not worried about the competition, but not in the sense that they're not going to take our business, but I think that overall it'll take a while for it really to make a big difference, and hopefully in the meantime we can use them as kind of a laboratory thing where we can see what's working for them and borrow some ideas for what could work for us as well. So overall, I think I would prefer to see competition than just us all by our lonesome doing these videos. Now, thankfully, there's already been tons of people making videos on miniature wargaming, and we've gotten lots of ideas from them as well. And so, like, I remember, for example, Beasts of War came in, and they came in just totally awesome. They came in tons of HD equipment, a really nice studio. They did tons of content, really high quality, lots of editing. We were still doing standard definition videos at that point. And they came in with HD, awesome cameras, like very expensive equipment. And that is when we switched over to HD, because all of a sudden there was this other company that was gaining a lot of subscribers very quickly. They were growing very quickly, and we're like, hey, if they're growing really quickly, then what they're doing is what people want to see. We better try to improve and look at what they're doing and try to incorporate it. So we learned a lot from what they did, and it actually helped us improve our own quality. And it's great. So we've been able to learn a lot from them, and they've still been able to grow, and they're doing their thing. So there's plenty of room in this market for other producers. And so no, I'm not worried. Not because I don't think that they're going to make a difference, but because there's money to be made for everybody. And we're still a small company. Remember that. Sometimes we might, maybe to some people we look like a bigger company. I know some people treat us that way, like they expect certain things. But we're just half a dozen people making videos. So, yeah. Overall, in a market, competition is good. Usually the competition is good for the consumer more than it is for the companies, because if there's competition, that means somebody's making less money. But for a consumer, it means you have more options. So for you guys, obviously it's a good thing. Du Bois rule. Rules question: can you bring a Planet Strike detachment in a normal game of 40k? I'd say no. As far as I understand, they are meant to be used only in the Planet Strike games. At first you would think not, but in the rulebook, page 120, it says you can include any number and type of detachments in a Battleforge army. So since the Planet Strike detachment is a type of detachment and has no restrictions apart from the blanket, all units chosen must have the same factions, you would. I only ask this because Planet Strike detachments are crazy in their customization and freedom, and there's some pretty neat bonuses too. I want your opinion on the matter because I don't want to look like a jerk for using them, but I would like to use them to create fluffy lists with benefits that would go with the army in question. I'd say as a general rule, the answer would be no, but if your opponent agrees to it, yeah, just don't try to take it to a tournament. I doubt that they would accept it. Okay, Our time is up. Thank you very much for watching this Sit and Talk. Of course, I'm going to do another 30 minutes in the Sit and Vault at the link below. Go ahead and click that. Even if you're not a Vault member, you can still click it, get a free 7-day trial, and watch it and all the other videos there. If you don't like it, you can cancel within the 7 days. Heck, if you forget to cancel and we charge you, you've got a whole 30 days to get your money back. So 37 days you can get it and end up having it for free. I say that like that because I know that the majority of people who sign up end up keeping it because they like all the extra videos. And it helps support us too, and some people do it for that reason too. So thank you very much to those of you who are Vault members. Click the link below. Thanks for watching. Happy wargaming.